explain how to do this from some kind of ground operation. So there's three ways. The first is by, so it's Bank of Canada buying bond from the government or the, I think this is a topic, so we have to, I guess it's okay. Sure, so if the first strategy is buying bond, so when they are buying bond, they pay money to the public. So when they pay money, they print money. So the money supply will be increased by X over the reserve rate. One of the reserve ratio is the multiplier. So $1 bill you get into the system, X 1 over R dollar you will get increase in the money supply. So that's how we get that. And no, this is not Bank of America, this is Bank of Canada. So oppositely, if they are selling bond, then money supply will decrease by the same amount. So the second way is switch deposit. So switch deposit. So the first version is from Bank of Canada to the chartered banks. Say X dollars. And when that happens, it's the same as government. The Bank of Canada is giving them some amount of money and they print it. So obviously money supply will increase by X over R. And similarly, if the switch is from chartered bank to the Bank of Canada, then the money supply will decrease by the same amount. So the third one is foreign buy US currency. That's all. So the process goes like this. So if we are buying US currency, then Bank of Canada will give money to the Federal Reserve. And so we give them X dollars to buy US dollars. And the Federal Reserve will be giving the US banks those Canadian dollars. But there will be someone who is in US but want Canadian dollars. So those circulation, US, they will get the Canadian dollar. But then they will pass it back to the Canadian circulation. And those Canadians will redeposit into the chartered banks. So that will be the process that's going on, but you don't actually need to know this. The end result is basically money supply will increase the same way. Increase the same way. So as long as you know buying US dollar, you need to spend Canadian dollar, which means you print the Canadian dollar, then you know that it increases. That's all you need to know. Yeah, that's the actual process it goes. For the purpose of the exam, you know when it's decreasing, when it's increasing. Don't get confused of when it's increasing, when it's decreasing, cancel it. So I think obviously there will be some tricky question. So for example, the professor said that, for example, Bank of Montreal is buying some government bond, then nothing happens. So anything other than these three, nothing will happen to the money supply. Yeah, so if bank is buying from public, it's in between reserve and circulation. So it's something that happens within the money supply, so obviously nothing will change. So suppose similarly, if two banks switch deposit within each other, then that's going to happen as well. So say if TD and RBC switch deposit, then nothing will happen. It's just one bank has more money. It doesn't really matter. They can actually do that. And And another tricky example is if we are buying some other country's currency, like the Chinese currency or the North Korea, I guess, those currency where they will actually have exchange system, then nothing will happen. So I think those are the only tricky cases.
So euros won't, nothing will happen. Yeah.
If you go to a mall, if you see the under the exchange thing, the money that you can exchange, that money supply will change. So for any money that you can exchange here, then it means that those countries actually have that's not a foreign currency reserve. So money supply will change. So this system actually works. So for some other country where in Canada you cannot actually get those money, for example Chinese yuan, you cannot get it here. Then what happens is they give them X dollar they will just put it in their central bank. They'll just put the actual physical cash in their bank. They don't give it to them. That country's commercial banks. They just keep it in their federal bank. So that's why money stopped there. Then obviously nothing will happen. So, but for US dollar and euro and Japanese yen, I think all those ones where we can actually get those dollars here, then those countries would have a currency. And then those countries would have the effect that, well, change always
Will change.
Yeah. So the ones we can exchange, those countries will cause some supply to change as well. So what other things they did? I think if there's any government spending or any tax, obviously completely nothing will happen because it's just within the circulation. Right. So if the government sells some bond and uses it as spending, then again nothing happens. So all those things that's not like interaction with the I actually forgot this is Bank of Canada buying US currency. No, other banks buying US currency works as well, but we're not talking about that. So anything that involves Bank of Canada printing or throwing away some money, then that will actually cost money.
So how did you say we would know that the change in yen would do that? You know what I mean? Like how do you know that it's
how do we actually know which countries?
Yeah.
So if you go on Google and type exchange rate, then you'll get a list of exchange rate, and those ones were, no, it's not actually true. We actually have exchange rate to the Chinese dollars as well. So I think
those countries are close, maybe like.
No, those countries are not close. They are still trading in between, but they have something called foreign currency reserve. That's the problem. They actually put some money in their central bank, so that's the problem. So I think you only need to know the ones. I don't know the exact list. You can probably search it. So the idea is, if you can exchange that country's dollar here, then it means they don't have a foreign reserve. So yeah. So for example, if you go to a mall, you can probably get some US dollar. You can probably get some euro exchanges.
So if you can get here, it's minus 5 go up.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So the other two things that changes the money supply you should know as well. Just to go to some extent, it's not monetary policy. So if there's a change, if there's an increase in circulation, for example, by X dollars, then we know that reserves are decreased by X dollars. So basically you will decrease reserves by X dollars. So you will decrease deposit by X over R dollars. So sum them up, you will decrease money supply by X over minus. So money supply is deposit plus circulation. So you should be able to do the other case. If there's a decrease in circulation, there's an increase in reserve, an increase in deposit, and then there's an increase in reserve. So let's call this the fourth one, and the last one, which I didn't do in yesterday as well, is if there's an increase in the reserve ratio, then what we do is we use the old reserve divided by the new reserve. So the new money supply, is equal to divided by the new reserve ratio plus the old circulation. So you basically just recompute the new reserve rate and recompute the new money supply and take the difference. Then that's enough. So I think from the past exams, those are all the possible changes that can affect money supply. 3 of them are monetary policy. These 2 are just some random change that occurs in the economy. That will change money supply. But those, the collection will be covering all the possibility why money supply will change. So you probably see that these 3 monetary policies have the same effect, exact same numbers. So you should know that on the exam. Because if you are given a type 1 of those 3, you actually need to calculate all these numbers from that. So that's, I guess, exact one. So if you want to calculate a printed $100 bill, then you want to money supply increase by that much. You have a number that you can calculate the actual interest rate as well. So those becomes function calculator exercise as well. That's the first step. These 2 are just for the money supply question on the exam. So it normally shouldn't happen in the one try as well. The other ones are connecting with the monetary policies. So I think for these diagrams, we'll actually to do it again. I think in less detail, but more explanation why it works, so we can go to the lecture and read through those. But I think the rest has covered all those already. Some of them maybe he didn't actually cover in detail, but he should have done. So and I will not be teaching the tutorial for the next 2 weeks, so I will probably see you before the final exam during the review session. I will erase all.